So I guess we are ready to start. 4 minutes past 12. Let's see if somebody... Yep, sound is good. All right. Then let's start. Welcome everybody to this webinar about marketing mix modeling. Today we will discuss this topic: marketing mix modeling. In times, data-driven marketing is super important, will be more important than ever with a new year upcoming, 2024, which might be a very uncertain year in terms of privacy regulations, in terms of economic situations. So let's see what marketing mix modeling could help us with. So first of all, my name is Lars van Tilden. I'm a data consultant working at IO, and I see I need to switch my slides. Wait a second. So my slides are the wrong ones. I'm sorry. I'll share my screen again. Sorry, now So here we are again. I'm sorry. So where was I? My name is Lars van Tilden. I'm a data consultant at IO. For the ones who don't know IO, we are a blended agency working mainly in Belgium, the Netherlands, and in the Nordics. And looking at our activities, we range from strategy, creativity, content marketing, technology, and data. Looking at myself, I'm working as a data consultant in the D&I teams of IO. As D&I, we are enabling our own teams and organizations to leverage data better, and we're working with several specialists on the different campuses. So to kick things off in a little bit of an interactive way in a webinar like this, I have two polls for you to start. And these polls will help me, but as well you to have more of an idea of the current state of the data-driven marketing planning and buying nowadays. So I think everyone can join the poll within the tool, and I'm quite curious, and I hope everyone will join the poll. So the first poll I want to start with is the statement which you can answer with yes or no, and that's I have tried or I will try different scenarios to identify the budget that I need to reach my targets in my annual year plans. So do you already have some different scenarios? If you, for example, look at a positive economic outlook, a more negative economic outlook, are those things you are now currently working with? I'm quite curious, so I have to go to my webinar screen where we can see where you can see, so where I can I see the poll results? No, not yet. I think I have to submit. Yes. So I see yes, I see no. 50-50 almost. So indeed, and why I'm asking this is marketing mix modeling is a way to try different scenarios for your annual plans. So the second one is more thinking a little bit further. So imagine we are in May 2024 and the economic situation is not that good. Let's say we have, let's say the most negative scenario has become reality. Then my second poll is, if your board will ask you to spend only half of the money half of the budget you planned on your marketing budget for the rest of the year, you know where to take action. You know what channels you will maybe stop with, or what channels you will use with only the half of the planned budget. Do you have the facts to make those kind of decisions? Yes or no? again, 50-50. And again, I'm using these kind of questions because this is where marketing mix modeling is all about. Using insights to make these kind of decisions. And I think having these kind of insights will be more important for the upcoming year, because looking at 2024, that might be a very, very uncertain year. And as we move to that new year, the flexibility in marketing budgets has never been so critical, because the upcoming year might give us a unique challenge with a landscape filled with a lot of uncertainties. While the current economic situation is still okay, stable, it's crucial to recognize that there are various events and factors that could change this situation within a day. So looking at situations I'm talking about, we have the elections in the USA, elections in the Netherlands, for example, war, or do I need to say wars, inflation, migration, things like that could really influence your markets. And then you need to be flexible within your marketing budgets. So that being said, what we see now in recent research is that marketeers, you do see opportunities for new investments, because after 4 years of declining marketing budgets, on average, the forecast now indicates a small shift. We see that after 4 years of declining marketing budgets, the majority of marketeers will raise their marketing budget in 2024. Although it's just with a very small increase of between 1 and 4, it is again a new opportunity to do the right investments. However, looking at raising marketing budgets, I think 2024 in any case will be still a year to do more with less. Maybe not from the start, but somewhere we need to be prepared to do more with less, based on every event you just saw 2-3 slides back. Embracing more with less requires a very careful decision-making methodology, because you need to make the right choices if you need to do less with more with less possibilities. Making the right choices, there's only one way to do it, and it's having the right insights together. And having the right insights, for getting the right insights, you need to get the right data. And marketing mix modeling is a technique to get very powerful insights to make decisions on for your marketing budget. And we are lucky to living in a time that supports to make these kind of decisions and to get these kind of insights is on its way. I think 2023 was the year for all of us. AI was here to help, and AI is here to never leave anymore. AI for us as a marketer became a permanent part of our toolkit. I think for all of us, ChatGPT is one of the examples, but for me as well, things like data modeling, where marketing mix modeling is one of the examples of, is also AI, form of machine learning. So AI will help us as a marketer to do things in any way faster or better or more efficient. And that's today we are looking at the topic, how can we do our marketing planning and buying faster, better, and more efficient? Because if we are honest, I think marketing planning and buying is still today a very manual job. And in my opinion, this must change, or you have the opportunity to change this, because we are living currently in a time where we can reduce all these kind of manual work, for example, marketing planning and buying, with an algorithmic analysis. We can use computer science for doing this work, and not only to do the manual work, but also to do the manual work a lot better than we as humans can do. If you look to some other research, we see, for example, that looking at the current average ad spend, that it's on average, it's 50%, 50% of the cases, it's too low for getting the maximum impact. And for me, this was quite a nice quote out of a research of Nielsen, because this reminds me of this famous old marketing quote where we already knew half of my money I spend on advertising budget is wasted. The trouble is I don't know which half. The thing is, this quote is from, I think, the 1800s. And the good news is we are almost in 2024, and we have much more possibilities to use now. It's really time to remove all those emotion-driven decisions from the table and to make these kind of decisions based on facts. Do your marketing planning and buying based on facts, and that's where marketing mix modeling can help you with. So what we see is that most brands do have defined their marketing strategy. However, measuring the effectiveness of it is often be forgotten. And answers on the questions I show on this slide, those are not there that much. So, for example, do you know how much budget do you need? Do you know the effectiveness of all your marketing activities? And I mean with all, as well, the more indirect marketing activities. I think we are living in a time, and we will discuss that in a couple of minutes, that everything we do on a last click basis, that can be perfectly measured. But as soon it's more indirect, as soon it's more upper funnel, then the fact-based factor is more difficult to make. And I think, again, as well, for that upper funnel activities in our marketing planning, marketing mix modeling could help you. And today I will give you some examples. So we're moving from a manual analysis or a manual budget planning to more of a budget planning based on statistics, based on an algorithm, based on analyzing the effectiveness of the marketing from the past to predict the future impact. Actually, that's what we call marketing mix modeling. Marketing mix modeling is a way of doing analyses based on models, where models are analyzing your past performance and using all these kind of insights to enhance future ROI. So today, I will show you some examples of the outcomes of what kind of insights you will get out of such a model, and to show you already some examples, and we will deep dive into that later in this presentation. But for example, marketing mix modeling will give you insight in the impact of every channel and other factors in your marketing mix on revenue and conversions. And like I said, it will give you insights in direct and indirect channels. So for me, in my opinion, marketing mix modeling is really one of the future ways of creating attribution models. Later on, I will show some visualizations on how these kind of insights look like. Another insight marketing mix modeling will bring to you is a comparison of the share of spend versus the share of impact. And I will show again some examples. Same for saturation points. So sometimes you might be thinking, if a channel is successful, let's increase the budget for that channel for the next year. But however, investing more money in a successful channel does not always mean that the success of the channel will remain at that same level. Marketing mix modeling can help you with calculating what is the amount of maximum money I should spend to a channel for getting the maximum results. And in the end, the holy grail of marketing mix modeling, it is really an assistant of the optimal allocation spendings per channel. For these kind of insights, I will show you examples later on. But first, why now? Why now investing in marketing mix modeling? I already said, I think 2024 will be a year with a lot of events which might influence our markets. That's one reason. There is actually another reason which might be more important for our context as a marketeer. Because if you're nowadays using multiple channels throughout your customer journey, and I guess you are, and you were used to getting insights from the existing tooling into the cross-channel impact of all these channels, you have to listen now. Because if you are still working with tools which are good, like GA for tracking your whole customer journey, there are things that are going to change, because it's not only the technique of machine learning which is ready right now. We see also that times are changing and will never be the same. And I'm speaking about privacy and technology changes. Privacy and technology changes with GDPR, browser changes, ITP, ETP. 2 weeks ago, we had a new version of iOS 17, where again, there are again new updates in the browser Safari, which made tracking with parameters again more difficult. Traditional attribution models, creating them in the way we used to create them, that will be difficult in the future, not to say impossible. We are moving to a cookieless world, where we came from an old situation where we were able to track user on a user level with cookies, with IDs, with a cookie length of 7 days, 14 days, maybe a year, where we were really able to track that whole customer journey. We are now moving to what's called on this slide a future situation, but I think we might call it nowadays, where third-party cookies will disappear, where we have an increased regulation of user tracking, and we have technology changes as an answer on that. So browsers are removing third-party cookies or blocking, or we have ad blockers. We have to look at alternatives on this situation if we still want to have grip on our customer journey. And luckily, I think marketing mix modeling is an answer on that, because marketing mix modeling has evolved. And I think the most important learning of why marketing mix modeling could be an answer, marketing mix modeling doesn't need user level data to create attribution models where we can get the insights from how successful a channel is. So I'm going to show you in a minute what kind of data you need to build a marketing mix modeling model. But the most important thing you need to know, it is a very good alternative in a cookieless world. So let's show you the details. To create a marketing mix model, we at IO are following a 4 steps process. First of all, beginning, of course, with building a data set, because marketing mix modeling is a way of data modeling, and data modeling is all about starting with collecting data you will need to give to the models you are going to use. So you can see data really as the fuel for the model. So let's start with explaining, if you want to create a marketing mix model, what kind of data you need actually. The nice thing about marketing mix modeling is that you can 2 different kind of data sets, starting with your own internal data, and I will give you some examples in a minute. But you can add external factors as well. And what I mean with internal and what I mean with external, I will show you some examples. So for example, at the internal side, you will add to the model, for example, your spendings of your marketing campaigns and channels, as well digital, as well offline, because we're going to see that the marketing mix model is able to calculate your impact on digital and, of course, offline channels. You can add your sales data, you can add any research data you want, you can add in which periods you were active with promotions, because that has an impact on your sales. Any kind of data you have which might be relevant to calculate the impact on sales is relevant. On the other side, we have external factors. So you can add data about, for example, your competitors, seasonality, economic growth, inflation, weather, and of course COVID, because speaking about what has influence or what has impact on your revenue, I think for 2-3 years ago, COVID had a major impact. So it's really relevant to calculate what was the exact impact of COVID, and that might be even positive. It's not necessary to add everything on this slide into your model. Maybe to give you an idea what kind of data I should need at least. So at least you need to have one of your business KPIs. So for example, your conversion, your revenue, your branded awareness, anything you want to have as a primary objective. So I guess everyone has his conversions, has his revenue, and so in some way. Then you need at least the traffic or the volumes or the reach in any way, and your media spendings. And like I said, in the best way, all the media you used in the past, so your online media as well as your offline media. And then you could add, for example, periods of promotions, because doing promotions, doing commercials, doing campaigns most probably have an impact on your revenue. And then you could add some activity of your competitors. For example, having a database of when your competitors were active with which kind of campaigns might be relevant, because whenever a competitor is active within promotion, that might have an influence on your revenue. And of course, you can add a long list of macroeconomic factors like seasonality, like holidays, like economic growth, like COVID, like inflation, etc. Maybe to give an example of COVID, how do you add COVID in such a model? So we are adding conversions and spendings and volumes on a weekly basis. And actually, you could do the same in COVID times in the same way. What we did in the models we built in the last 2 or 3 years, we just feeded the model with positive tests in a specific country on a weekly basis. That is a way you could bring the impact of COVID within that model. So what you have to do is bringing all those data you have into a centralized data set, which you can just let's call a spreadsheet, because this is a very simplified way of bringing those data together. So we have data on a weekly basis where we put the volumes of every channel, the revenue of every channel, and this spreadsheet could grow endless. So we need a sort of basis of, let's say, this kind of data on a weekly level of the last 2 or 3 years at least. But from that moment, you can grow that data set in any size. So what you see here is that we are combining different kind of data sets together, because that's the way this model is working. And this could be, as a side step, a right moment to centralize your data if you are not there yet. So if you need a data set I showed in the previous slide, we can perfectly create that one-off in a very static way. That's no problem. But as you know, there are times coming that we need to bring all the sources we are using together in one place. And this is just an example. You could store that in, for example, a BigQuery of an Azure, of an AWS. But bringing data together might be, from this moment, a very good idea to invest in. Like I said, if you are currently not there yet, if you have your data anywhere in very a big amount of different tooling, no problem at all. You could bring them together in a static way. But if you want to run models like these, let's say every half a year, then it might be a good idea to automate this process. So that was it, creating a data set. Then the magic will happen. We will gonna create a model and run the model in order to get the insights in the last step. And I will spend some time at the insights. But first of all, I'm not going into too deep in the technology, but I want to explain you two things actually, because this marketing mix modeling, is this new technology? Definitely not. I think marketing mix modeling was already there in the zeros and maybe already in 90. I really don't know. I think it's a very traditional way of calculating the marketing impact. However, MMM does have evolved based on, for example, there are currently already open source marketing models available. For example, Google and Meta, Facebook, does have published their own marketing mix model. Secondly, I think nowadays data is so granular available, and especially digital data, that's perfectly to work with for a marketing mix model. And marketing mix modeling has evolved because we are now so much better in integrating long-term effects or isolating individual actions. Our models are faster, so marketing mix modeling has evolved. Does that mean that everyone can create a marketing mix model? Probably not, because marketing mix modeling is statistical work, and you need to have business and media understanding, and you need to be able to combine those. So like I said here, everyone with a little bit of Python knowledge could perfectly run an open source model from, for example, Meta. But creating a marketing mix model for any organization will result in a different model for everyone. So it's really important that you are able to combine statistical knowledge with business and media understanding. There are already automated tools coming who are able to create a marketing mix model for you. I think we need to be aware at this point where we are now. It's really cool that those tools are there in the market yet. But like I said, a marketing mix model is not an out-of-the-box tool where you put your data in it and every model is the same for every organization. It really depends on every organization. Of course, this will evolve. So that's on the technology. If you have really questions about the in-depth technology behind the model, let's be in contact, and then we can organize a follow-up on this to see the details about what kind of models there are available and what's fitting your organization. All right, then last but not least, of course, what's coming out of a model like that? So what can you expect? And that's maybe the most interesting point to discuss, the details of what's coming out of a model. I already showed you some hints, and now I will explain you them a little bit deeper. I will also give you some examples of visualizations coming out of a model based on a case we did before. So actually, I want to give you 6 different outcomes of a marketing mix model, like on this slide, and I will discuss them step by step. So first of all, what's coming out of a marketing mix model is in comparison of what we call the base sales versus the incremental sales. So the added value of media. So a marketing mix model is able to distinguish what amount of sales is coming from your brand, like price of product and place, and what amount of revenue or conversion or whatever you take as a primary objective, are we able to influence based on media? So this model will be able to calculate, for example, images and figures like this, where you have an insight in what is my base sales and what's the incremental sales resulting in the actual sales. So you will get an insight in the amount, in the share on longer periods. So for example, in the example we will use in the following slides, we see that 72% of the revenue is a result of incremental sales, is a result of all the media spendings we did. And of course, it's already quite nice fact, which we might know nowadays, but it's still just it has some follow-up questions. So, for example, the first follow-up question: can we see what is the impact of, for example, every channel and every single factor on my revenue? And that's actually the second thing a marketing mix model will calculate. So a marketing mix model will make an, let's say, new attribution model based on the aggregated data. So it's not that the model isn't using data on a user level where we see we have visitor ABC, that it's visiting my website, for example, with an AdWords campaign, and 7 days later, he will convert it with buying a product. It's really on aggregated data. So in week number 1, I was active on this kind of media with this level of spendings, and in week 8, I had these kind of conversions. And bringing all those kind of data together will result in a breakdown like this, where we have insights in what is the impact of every factor on my conversions. So for the example here, you see some examples of, we have some out-of-home spendings, we have paid social spendings, and you see that, for example, out-of-home has an impact of 35% on my revenue on the period we did the analysis on. Like you see as well, you see some positive and negative factors, because at the bottom of this figure, you see that, for example, you have the insight in that competitor promotions has an impact, however, has a negative impact of 6.4% on my revenue. And you see the example of COVID. In this case, COVID had a negative impact on the revenue of 21.8%. So if you know the impact of every of the spend, you can compare the impact, share of impact. You can compare that with the share of spend. So you have to see the share of spend. So you have 100% of your marketing budget, and you can divide that on every media channel. So then you know I spend 20% of my budget on paid social, 30% on out-of-home, etc., for example. And you can compare that with the share of impact. We just saw that out-of-home has the biggest impact on my revenue, and then you can compare that. So if you know the spend share, you can compare that with your impact share. And that's quite nice to know, because then you know what media I'm using nowadays, I'm overspending on, and what media is still using the full potential. So for example, we see here that we have very high spend on paid search on the top, but the impact is quite low compared to, for example, out-of-home, where the spend is quite low and the impact is quite high. So based on this insight, of course, you should think, hey, let's increase the budget for out-of-home because that's performing very well. Marketing mix modeling will help you what amount of spend you should allocate to this channel, because as I already said, more investment isn't always equal to more impact. So the model will calculate for you, for every channel, a sort what we call a saturation point. So here you see a visualization of a saturation point of paid social, where we see paid social is currently underspending. We see that the impact is higher than the spends. And what a nice thing about this visualization is that you will see that on a certain moment, adding extra budget to this specific channel will not result anymore in more impact. So calculating that moment is very important for let's say the calculating the most ideal budget. So bringing that all together, having insights in what is influencing your revenue, having insights in how I'm nowadays dividing my marketing budget will result in an advice of reallocation budgeting. So in this visualization, you see on the left bar, how are you currently dividing your marketing budget over the channels you are using. And on the right side, you see the most efficient way of dividing your marketing budget based on all the calculations that are being made within the model. So those are the 6 examples. Looking at the time, we have 5 minutes less, and hopefully if there are questions, maybe some time for questions. I will close off this webinar with some misunderstandings, because I think for all marketeers, having insights like these are awesome to have. But what's also good to know is, for example, that this methodology isn't only for enterprise organizations, in my opinion. So, and that's, I already said, marketing mix modeling has evolved. It's not that we have spoken about a way of doing analysis that will take us months or years. So this is really quite doable for any organization which has a certain level of data. What you need to know is that doing this exercise isn't something you can do every week, and will definitely not replace your daily analyses. From our experience doing marketing mix modeling, you can do that, let's say, at least every year, every half year, maybe even quarterly. But I think that's maybe for many of your organizations the amount of time you need to renew this model, because this model isn't using that real-time user level data. This model is using aggregated data, so you need sufficient amount of data to be able to run this model. And if you will do this on a weekly basis, the model will not change that quickly. What's important to know is that marketing mix modeling will not give you answers on activities you didn't do before. I hope it's clear that we are using data from the past. So we are analyzing what we have did in the past, and we are creating forecasts based on that. If you're nowadays not active, for example, on TikTok, and you are curious what amount of money I should spend on TikTok, then marketing mix modeling is definitely not the methodology that will give an answer on that. Marketing mix modeling is looking back at your activities you did in the past over the last 2 or 3 years and recalculating that for the upcoming future. So to wrap up, 2024 will be uncertain. Doing more with less will be important. AI will help us with that, doing things faster, better, and more efficient. We have to switch media buying from a manual job to a more automated, fact-based, data-driven. This is important as well because privacy changes will have a very big impact on our marketing context. And marketing mix modeling is an answer on that. It's no new technology. It's old wine in new bottles. However, it did evolve over the last year. So I think for everyone here, a very, very interesting technology to invest in. So if you then want to invest into marketing mix modeling, there are some possibilities to start if you say after 45 minutes of this webinar, let's go, I have my data ready, I'm quite curious to these kind of insights, give me the full package, we as IO can definitely build a marketing mix model for your organization. However, if you're thinking, I'm not sure if I'm ready, if I have enough data, if my data is good enough to create this model, we can definitely create a data audit for you. And if you're not sure you need this, then I'm quite happy to make an advertising and privacy impact scan for you to show why you really should think about moving to other technologies to calculate your impact. Thank you for this webinar. I will now close my screen sharing. I will quickly go to the webinar to see if there are questions. There is a question. How do you account for the combined impacts of different channels? Let me see. Is that clear? Actually, maybe you can rewrite at least the question, or I think you are Dutch. Maybe you can write it in Dutch and I will translate it. Sebastian, does this type of model work for companies where sales cycle lasts for several months? Especially when they are in a growth phase. So I guess there is a lot of change going on. Then your model will definitely will change over time. So if you split your question, does this model work for companies where sales cycles last for several months? Definitely yes, but because that's definitely something a model could work with. In a growth phase, like I said, you really need 2 or 3 years of data. So I don't know if you are there yet. If you are there, then this could definitely work. Is MMM suitable for B2B and B2C? Of course, as long as you're active on media and you have certain conversion points or revenue or transactions or sales or whatever, then it actually doesn't matter. If it is for B2B and B2C. Thank you, Annelies. Yeah, all right, that's very clear. So that's definitely what a marketing mix modeling is doing. So like I said, it's working on comparing activities. So when I was active on with my campaigns on several kind of channel, on channel A and on channel B, and compared to that, I have my conversions also on a weekly basis. This model is able to see that combination of channels I used. So this model is able to do without any user-based data to gather some insights in the indirect impact of a channel. So a combination of different channels within the full customer journey, then this model is definitely able to give you the insights. Is this kind of marketing mix more relevant for healthy and fast food restaurant chain? I guess yes. I think it's my answer will be the same as the answer I gave to Marcel. So as long as you are using media for this company, and we have insights or some way to have an insight in any revenue or any sales, then this definitely can work. How many different media should be used? There is not a specific amount. Of course, if you just have 1 or 2 channels which are using just always on and have never some specific campaigns, then this model would be less relevant. But I think already from using 3 different kind of media and using them in a campaign way of working, this already could help you. And I think that's it for now, if there are no more questions. If you have a question or maybe later on, then my details were on the presentation. So definitely don't hesitate to get in contact. And like I said, like I showed on the last slide, if you are curious to start with this and you're not sure if you're ready to do, or you're not sure this way of modeling is relevant for you, then definitely be in contact, and then let's discuss how we can help you. I think that's it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your attention, and see you in the next webinar. Bye-bye.